This has been a hot minute since we have had Doctor Who Sunday, and it's coming back with a new style that will be built on over time with Jodie Whittaker's Doctor as the test guinea pig. This week's review takes a look at the first of the New Year specials from her, a change that was made from the normal Christmas specials that we as a viewer had become accustomed to. It's time for the return of Doctor Who Sunday. Hello and welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Shout About It with me. What's happening, Doctor?
Change, my dear.
So I hope that the sound is sounding a lot better. The noise dampeners were put back up after they had fallen down, so hopefully that's all fixed now and it sounds a lot better. Today we are reviewing Resolution, a Jodie Whittaker story that was written by Chris Chibnall and it aired on New Year's Day 2019. We are off in history, hearing the deep voice of the narrator speaking of how the people of the world overthrew their opponent and split its body into 3 pieces. These 3 pieces are scattered around the world and guarded forever with 3 custodians. However, one custodian's life is taken, so he never makes it to his destination, and he is dug up in an archaeological dig centuries later by 2 archaeologists. Lynn places one of the pieces that they had found underneath the UV light. However, the UV light brings the creature back to life and its other parts too. The creature escapes and Lynn goes to look for it. She finds it on the wall. The Doctor, Ryan, Graham and Yaz follow the emergency call to Sheffield and land the TARDIS where the dig is taking place. Lynn shows the Doctor where the squid-like creature was. We discover that it disappeared. The Doctor takes some slime in a test vial to test it later to find out what the creature is. They go to Graham's house and the Doctor starts testing the substance. This is where the Doctor discovers that there had been a reconnaissance Dalek buried on the Earth for centuries, and we also see that the Dalek has attached itself to Lynn and was starting to take control of her. It makes her go into her car, speeding, so that she can find its weapons and make a new Dalek casing from it. Ryan's dad has also shown up by this point and he is trying to make amends with his son. We see them discussing things in a coffee shop, but just prior to that we see Ryan's dad trying to sell an oven that is also a microwave, which will play a big part in the story much later on. The Doctor focuses trying to trace the Dalek, leaving Graham behind with Ryan's dad for their little heart-to-heart. The Doctor established contact with the Dalek, and after much back and forth, she is able to ask Lynn to fight it, and is able to locate the Dalek and Lynn. They save Lynn and get her into the TARDIS, and the Doctor reveals herself to the newly rebuilt Dalek. The Doctor is unable to defeat the Dalek at this point and runs to the TARDIS. The Dalek, after taking out the army, focuses in on its plan to use the power from the UK to send the signal to the Dalek fleet. It then becomes a race against time for the Doctor. Can she stop the Dalek from calling its fleet and save Ryan's dad from being burnt up in a supernova? This story has its good points and it has its bad points, to be honest with you. This review is also probably not going to be very long. But first of all, please do let me know what you think of this story in the comments section below, and please do keep it friendly in the chat with each other. I know what Doctor Who can do to people. Now, in the terms of preferences, I think this one for me is much more up there. If I had to choose with this era, the idea and the concepts have always been there. They just haven't benefited from great execution in the storytelling. This is more to do with the fact that they needed a stomping ground to make a point. that they have the first ever female Doctor to join the ranks to be progressive, to which I say is completely regressive because there are female Time Lords out there in the world more than anything else. We just conveniently forget about them. That's all. That being said, whilst she doesn't make all that much of an impact, what she did benefit from was some very, very cool special effects and some really good costume design, and well, that was about it really, wasn't it? This story is pretty much no different in that regard. The costumes were on point and the look of the Reconnaissance Dalek was very good indeed, I would say. In fact, the majority of the stuff that happens with the Dalek is probably my favourite. I do feel like this story is trying to play into the element of the Dalek story from Series 1 with Christopher Eccleston, almost. One Dalek that is extremely powerful enough to cause a lot of damage and chaos and recklessness. Does this story fall short of the level of caliber from Dalek, which was originally based on a Big Finish story called Jubilee? Absolutely, 100%. However, it tries to do something that's a little bit different with it instead of what happened with Dalek, and I would say that is worth noting. Chips goes for a very crude version of a Gestalt type of angle with the Dalek. And I say crude because it's not unusual for Dalek to use hive mind. I am aware of that. It's all the same thing, I suppose, really, at the end of the day. Oh gosh, do I dare say that? In this case, though, attaching the Dalek to Lynn's back was to be more Gestalt-like. I think she is being controlled by the Dalek to do its bidding, yet she doesn't want to and ends up fighting it. It's an interesting factor that I do not ever feel is explored enough in the show. Well, in the current show, because they don't seem to ever make any time for it. I found all of that intriguing. It was very well played out. Indeed, Charlotte Ritchie, who played Lynn, did a brilliant job with that performance. I've seen her do several things, and I think this is probably a very good challenge for her. The Doctor mentions that the creature is a Dalek. Not being funny, but I don't think it looked remotely like a Dalek. Now, that may be because it had been dissected into 3, so needless to say, I was more than just a bit surprised when she said it was a Dalek. The scene where the Doctor links the Dalek and connects with Lynn as well. I would like to draw attention to that. This was the best scene from Jodie in this entire story. I could see that she was invested in it. She holds it very well. Oh goodness me, a compliment for Jodie as the Doctor. It doesn't make her the Doctor though. I will say it was believable, but it's still not the Doctor. Visually, that was brilliant as well. The camera angles were very much on point, and the effects and the colour grading worked very well in that scene to set the tone. I quite like the darkness of it. It's linking back to what I was saying earlier about how Jodie gets the pretty decent special effects and some really good costume design, and I genuinely mean that. I've never really had anything that was overly positive to say about Jodie's run. I really don't. Another thing that this benefits from is the special effects and the cinematography, is the sequence with the army and the Dalek. This does lead me to question if perhaps they knew that they were going to be doing something majorly controversial in Doctor Who lore, so they tried to counter that with the costume, cinematography and the effects. The swooping and the show of fear and all of that with the army and the danger of the Dalek was very well done indeed, I think, in this. The cobbled together element of the Dalek's outer casing is also very well done indeed. I like the idea that it couldn't get its entire casing back together, so it made it from parts of its old casing and what it could find. I mean, that's what people would do in a situation, right? So why wouldn't a Dalek do the same, even though it's not human? I also like the fact that the Dalek controls Lynn in order to do that. This story also has a slight hint of Moffat timey-wimey style at the beginning. Not as much, but it has a hint of it. It gives a prelude into it. I don't mind it, as it would have cut out a lot of what the Dalek would have done monologuing wise. Mind you, I'm not opposed to a Dalek monologue. I quite like a Davros hissy fit, as you know. There was one thing I noticed, is that they show a female custodian though at the beginning in the historical opening. As a show that is supposed to educate on history, that wouldn't have been the case back then, because that wasn't what a role of a woman was considered to be, and that's just fact. One question though, I'll put it this to you. Are there too many characters in this story? We have 2 archaeologists, the Doctor, Yaz, Ryan, Graham, his dad, the army, and that call centre lady, plus a family. In my opinion, yes, there are. I find the call centre part pretty redundant, and in many respects I would have rather had UNIT than the army, and I would say that as someone who didn't want UNIT in this story anyway. So catch-22, what a conundrum. One key factor from the old show during the Peter Davison era was that the 3 companions were considered difficult to write for because they all had to do their own thing. So quite often, more than not, one of them ended up in the TARDIS and stayed there for the entire story. Now Chibs, in credit to him, has managed to get away from staying in the TARDIS trope, which would please any classic Who companion. I'm absolutely sure of it if they had been able to get away from that trope themselves. However, this does result in one of the companions being left behind or doing something quite menial or going down the soap element. I remain adamant to this day that the only family that has ever worked in Doctor Who was Donna's family, and that's mostly because they really did serve a direct purpose to the plot, whereas I find that the other families don't do that anywhere near as much. The introduction of Ryan's dad, whilst in itself served an overall purpose to the resolution, no pun intended, to the story, does not really add much else. That's not a knock on the performances of the actors. They are only doing what has been written, and they probably value the character development. So no shade in that regard on the actors. I just feel that it takes away from what is happening. We are in the middle of this action, and then suddenly it slows right down to pay attention to what is happening in soap life. The story doesn't need to be fast-paced per se. In fact, overall the pacing is pretty good. I just feel that the family issues in this story does not do it any favours whatsoever. The ending was fine, I think, as well. The Doctor, unlike a lot of things with RTD's writing, does save the day. That's always a plus. That's the whole point of the Doctor being the hero of the sci-fi story, be it sci-fi or be it history or be it both. I'm not so sure of the Doctor taking so many people to defeat the Dalek. It is a massive risk to be taken. However, it was a way to get Ryan talking to his dad again, I suppose, and we all needed that. I just want to say that the Doctor does make some unneeded remarks about Ryan's dad, which I feel like Chibs is trying to do. He's trying to make it sound like it's the Doctor's alien, I'm not so socially aware side, which I never ever got that impression with the Doctor. I don't know if you ever did. I didn't think for one second it was needed. Let Ryan and Graham sort that out if you really need your soap elements. And I also find Yaz less annoying in this. I'm not the biggest fan of the character. That is no secret. Nothing to do with Mandeep Gill. It's just an opinion. I wonder if she was less annoying because she had less to do. Who knows, really, I don't know. Ryan was okay in this and Graham was as well. I think Graham is probably the strongest character out of all 3 of the companions for this series. And I do think that because there are a lot of characters for this, the writing for the companions may be watered down a little bit, you know. And again, that is just an opinion, and you can have a different opinion from mine. You can like Jodie as the Doctor, it really doesn't matter. Now, there is one thing that happens in this story that functions as a messaging system, and it's probably better to the blatant message that we get nowadays. I always say things work best when the messaging is integrated naturally into the story and not a ways of making a point. It was the scene where the family are talking about having a conversation because the Wi-Fi had gone down and everything had conked out. By that I mean not working anymore, for anyone who doesn't know what that means. Now, that's real life. We have a reliance on technology for our entertainment nowadays. It also gave the story a random sci-fi movie-esque feel very briefly. I have no issues with that scene whatsoever. It is a short scene that doesn't necessarily change or move the plot forward, but I can appreciate it being there. I don't have much else to say about this story. It's got a good pace, and it is one of the better ones for Jodie. My question is, would this have been better suited to another Doctor? Maybe that's a game we could play in the future. Who would be the best understudy Doctor for this particular story? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Chat about it, don't shout about it. I hope you like the basic format of the new edits. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye bye. Thank you for watching today. Don't forget you can join me on my other platforms as well. I've got YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, X, TikTok, Instagram, Locals, Substack, and I also have a Discord. Everything is linked below.